this was my first ABCA conference. Same with you, Matt, right? So this was big for me. My mind was absolutely blown walking into, the trade show, seeing all of the companies, seeing all of the tech, seeing all of the products, all that stuff, man. But more so, something that I wasn't aware of coming in here were the
Cuyahoga drives one to center. Miller hustling over. Diving catch by Ian Miller. A great catch.
3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the 9-Hole Podcast. This is Ian Miller. This is a special edition. We are at the ABCA convention. I am joined by a couple great minds in the baseball world, all with different viewpoints, all in different parts of their career, have seen different things. So it's going to be awesome to kind of recap what we saw this weekend here in Grapevine, Texas. Man, so many unbelievable stories, connections, products, coaches. It's going to be great to kind of recap. I wanted to, introduce you guys to these guys, right? They're going to 30 seconds on who they are, what they do, and just so, you have some background on their unique perspective. Obviously, my name is Ian Miller. I was a walk-on at Wagner College in Staten Island, New York. I got drafted, grinded through the minor leagues, made it to the big leagues, played a little bit with the Twins and the Cubs, right? So that's kind of the unique aspect that I bring to the 9-Hole Podcast. I'm speaking to the next generation of 9-hole hitters. I got some grinders with me, and I'm excited to kind of have them share their unique perspective, their takeaways, from the weekend, from the overall ABCA convention. So, Mike, without further ado.
Well, Ian, I let me just say thanks for this weekend. It was a real honor to be here with you, hanging out, getting to meet and greet and do all that good stuff. It was especially neat because of the way you reached out to me and how our relationship started. Obviously, for those of you guys that don't know, Ian just sends me a random email asking me what he can do to help what we do with our facility. Clearly that's a weird leading email and it kind of got pushed off to the side. And then the follow-up email comes, and the follow-up email is basically the same kind of thing. Like, no, I'm not selling you anything. I don't need anything from you. I just want to know how I can help you. So from there, we obviously have the conversation. All right, Ian, it's time to come in. It's time to have this conversation. And he comes in, and I'm just absolutely blown away with what you're trying to do. And what you're trying to do, from what I understand, is you're trying to figure it out, right? And like, we don't know. I don't know, right? These guys don't know, but like, it's been epic to be around you this entire weekend. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for introducing me to so many people. My name is Mike. I'm one of the co-owners of the Hit Warehouse. It's a training facility that does training very uniquely in the development world. The guys that are here with me this weekend are a part of that weird, different training style that we have. And we're just here really looking how we can build our brand, how we can connect with the community of baseball players, baseball coaches, baseball trainers, baseball technology, like literally the full gamut, right? And we came down here this weekend with our full staff. We brought everybody except for our softball coordinator, who just happened to be starting this last month, and it was kind of tough to throw her in last minute. But little rundown of our facility is called the Hit Warehouse. We have a little bit of a rebranding going on right now because we have a facility called Hit 24. It's a 24-hour hitting facility that's attached to our Hit 24 Development Center. And then attached to that is Grit Fit, which is our fitness center, which we have former NFL running back DeLon Carter, who does our training out of that. So, and then, you never know who's going to walk into the building. You never know who's going to be there, but like, we do know who our trainers are. And they're high-end trainers, and the development that we're doing is pretty good. It's pretty cool what we're doing. And we're really thrilled with what we've seen down here at the ABCA, and kind of excited and jazzed up to go through this podcast with y'all.
I love that. So, Mike, obviously co-owner of the Hit Warehouse in Wadsworth, Ohio. He sees things from a facility owner standpoint, a dad, right? Jake is obviously in the game, right? So you want the best for your kids, you want the best for, your athletes. So you might be seeing things in a different lens from me, in a different lens from Matt. Jake, anything like that, man. So it's awesome to get those perspectives in. The Hit Warehouse is an unbelievable facility. I'm blown away by it. The facilities are nicer than my high school, my college facilities. It's unbelievable. So it's cool to see what you're doing there, man. There's going to be a lot more talk in the future about the Hit Warehouse here on the 9 Hole podcast. So next, Matt, man, I'll let you kind of intro yourself, where you're at in your career, where you're from, and we'll keep it moving.
Thank you, Ian. So like you said, I'm Matt Moore. I grew up in Wadsworth. I've known Mike for a long time, along with the other owner, Bill Gearhart. Played high school baseball for him. And I kind of got in on the ground floor with the Hit Warehouse back when their facility was a piece of turf in a warehouse, so a literal warehouse. I got trained by them, and if it really weren't for them, I never would have continued my career to play D3 college baseball. I'm a grad senior at a small Division III school in Ohio, Wittenberg. I was a catcher, designated hitter, love to hit baseballs. It definitely the most fun part of the game. And as I continue finishing up, this will be my last year playing baseball. I'm going to go back to the Hit Warehouse where I started, where I began training for baseball really, and become a full-time employee and help grow this business. Being in this situation here has severely opened my eyes to what the world of baseball industry is like. Meeting people like you, getting to connect with you a little bit. Coach Sully, I knew for, a couple weeks before we came down here, but getting to spend quality time with quality baseball people is not only exciting for the years to come in my baseball business career, my baseball training career, but even for right now, I get 6 more months to play the game that I love. And it's just so super exciting because I'm getting preached to on 2 fronts, right? I'm trying to think of it as, what my future is, what my business future will be, training future will be. But also I'm listening to these things as if they're all these speakers this week, as if they're coaches to me. Like, we will go into it, I'm sure, talking about the round table we went to on Thursday. Like, I wanted to hop in the cage and swing and try out all the stuff because I'm still able to. That's still stuff I can implement. I thought it was super cool. It was a super cool experience this weekend. I can't wait to get in and talk about it a little more.
Love it. So Matt obviously is the luckiest one out of all of us because he is still playing. So he gets to soak up any type of information, any type of contacts that he has, and he gets to go to war with it this season, right? Whereas we see things in a different light. As Jake will tell you here, we'll get him to intro himself. Man, he helps. He's a coach, right? So he influences hitters. He works with the hitters, so he's seeing things from that sort of light. Before I take it away from you, man, I'll let you introduce yourself.
All good. Thank you, Ian. First off, I'm just so grateful to be here. And right before we got on, I said it, but I have no problem sharing it. Like, I really believe this is an act of God. Like, this doesn't happen. This moment doesn't happen right now. This whole weekend doesn't happen. Don't even know you two or you, Ian, without the big man upstairs playing a part in it all. So, my name is Jake Solomon. I am a high school math teacher and a junior college assistant coach. I'm a teacher at St. Edward High School, located in the greater Cleveland area. And I also coach baseball over at Cuyahoga Community College, also known as Tri-C. Over at Tri-C, I help assist with hitters, and I'm also the main outfield coach and pretty much the weight room hype man as well over there too. But I'm Cleveland born and bred. I was a Division III baseball player, just like Matt, and also went to Matt's rival school, which is the College of Worcester. And that's talking about an act of God. It was amazing, the experience I got to witness my college coach get inducted into the ABCA Hall of Fame this weekend. And it's a good feeling of pride. Like, pride gets looked down upon, or sometimes we get a little too high. But like, this is one of those weekends where us Worcester alumni who played for Coach P, we're like, we're allowed to be a little prideful this weekend because this is pretty freaking cool. It is. But without any further ado, let's keep it rolling.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. So, obviously, you've met everybody here right now. You kind of understand the unique perspectives that we're seeing the convention from, that we're seeing the game from. So we kind of wanted to just touch on some things that stood out to us, right? We wanted to recap maybe some stuff stuff that stood out, right? Whether it's products, whether it's coaches, whether it's lessons. Obviously, the overall feeling of just how everybody is accepted, right? No drills or ideas or contacts are kind of like excluded from any type of conversations. It's definitely a huge networking event, right? Where you get to meet different brands, different companies. You start to get different ideas moving forward in the year. Mike, like, you see some things and you might want to implement it in your hitting facility, right? That Matt, dude, you might see some things. You're like, man, might try this Vulcan grip or Volk grip, whatever it is. Like, dude, I might go for it. Dude, and you might see something where you want to implement. You were talking about the technology where you can communicate with your players and give them certain signs, right? So that's all there. We're all just, seeing things from our own sort of light, man. So I wanted to touch on, a product that maybe stood out to you guys that you thought could, impact maybe yourself, right? Matt, in your case, you're seeing it from a player's lens. You might be seeing it from an owner's lens. You might be seeing it from a coach's lens. That's powerful shit. We have all different types of perspectives now on all these different products. Like, what was the product that stood out to you, Mike, and why?
So from a facility standpoint, with all the different technology that we already have, like there's not a lot of technology that we don't have that's not available to us or that we're not willing to invest in. So, from hit tracks to blast motion to Rapsodo hitting, Rapsodo pitching, and, the insight cameras and K-Vest and all that, all the good things as far as tech is concerned. When I looked at the tech program and the tech platforms, I get excited about some of the things that are going on with blast motion from some of the conversations we had last night when we were able to sit down with I guess the top brass a little bit with blast motion, and we got wined and dined a little bit. Right. That was fun, right? And had some tremendous conversations. But to hear some of the things that they're trying to integrate into their training protocol with the players, and how that data is being read and how that data is being implemented when you're done with a training session or an assessment, and what things can be done to fix those areas. That was really exciting. I'm in 100% as usual on hit track stuff, right? Yeah. And the addition of the iPhones and the iPads to do the video recording, as opposed to like in years past that we had a I'm not real techie. I don't know exactly what everything is, but the cameras that we were using to track and to record and do everything, they seem to be like computer based cameras, and they didn't seem high tech, and they sure as heck weren't 4K. But what was nice is you were able to scrub them, and you were able to manipulate slow-mo, that. Yep, slow mo, reverse, and all that good stuff. But it was a little grainy. But now they're doing that with iPads and iPhones, and the quality is incredible. And then you can do 4 videos at the same time while you're doing a training session. Just got to figure out how to protect those iPhones so they don't get all busted up. But that was awesome as far as like the tech side of it. Obviously, what Tewksbury's doing with Pelotero and stuff like that. Like I'm in on that. So that's exciting.
Yeah, you're big. He knows you too. He was reciting everything from when he was out visiting the warehouse, right?
Yeah. Him and Chris both came out, visited us a couple years ago. And we've been able to build a tremendous relationship with them. I love their mission. I love their vision. Any way I can, support them and what they're trying to do and use that technology and our facility to help our players get better. I'm in on that. So the tech side of stuff was cool. I got a chance to go over and talk to the Yacker Tech guys, and that was, you were like, come on, let's go over and talk to those guys, and that cleared up some confusion I had with Baseball Cloud, and so
same.
Yes.
Same.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what honestly it was. I needed them to break it down further.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. So I was fired up about that. As far as products are concerned, I have a 16-year-old son that is a player, and he's a catcher. So I bought him his first Valley glove. We got one of those. We got a weighted Valley glove, and a little stubby, so the pocket's a little bit shorter. So he has some work to do on glove side, and so this is going to help him strengthen that glove side receiving. And he's going to have to be a little bit more accurate with that. So I love that. I was enamored with the Tucci bats.
Yes.
Man,
Tucci.
oh my gosh, Pete! First off, Pete's a tank,
Yeah.
right? Like that,
Stud.
that dude. I'm not going in there smarting off to Pete, right? But got a chance to talk with Pete a little bit. I love the look of his equipment. I love the feel of the bats. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to have those in the facility here in the next couple of days, so that the kids can test them, because we do a lot of demo bats in there. Obviously, the Wilson stuff looked great as usual, which was nice for me because we just had a big Wilson demo come through the last few weeks. We had every single bat that they have on the line, and there was a little bit of like, hey, why isn't this one available online, and why is it? And so they were able to break down those bats a little bit further for me, and I was pretty excited to see that. So yeah, like the trade shows where I lived this weekend, like I mean, as part of the business that we're doing, I definitely love the clinics, but the trade show, I was in on it 100%. So
Love that.
yes, sir.
Thank you. So for me, we talked about it a little bit. We visited the booth, so the Always Grind 365, right? So Always Grind. I was a big advocate of writing down and charting my success, charting my at bats, charting any type of results I had, maybe what the pitches looked like against certain pitchers, certain situations. So I just had Jamie Moyer on the podcast. We talked about writing down what the pitcher had, what the situations were, all that stuff. Also charting maybe what your pregame routine was, how you felt, all that stuff. So seeing the Always Grind tablets or notebooks, I guess, where you can chart all of the information. It's kind of in one product. It's in one booklet. They have certain variations of it with certain different types of pages to write in, different types of way to like track information. That was cool for me to see. I think that's probably something, if I was still playing, that's something that I would buy. Like that's something that would, they would take my money. I would invest in that. That is something that I was handed basically at the Mariners, right? They had their own variation of it. They were able to kind of put their own product out, where it was a journal where I was able to, track that stuff. So Always Grind definitely has a solid product. I'm excited to have, hear more about it. We're probably going to have those guys on at some point at this, on the 9-Hole podcast. Pete Tucci, I got a verbal from Mr. Tucci saying that he will be on the podcast. So we will have him on here at some point. Moving on, Matt, like I said, dude, you have the most unique, aspect of it all right now because you are still playing, dude. So, man, what like stood out to you? Was there anything that you saw that you were like, shit, I might buy this. I might take it home with me to implement it from my last year?
Yeah. So the one thing, now you're going to have to help me on what the name of this was, because you remember things a lot better than I do. So I was a catcher, obviously, and the thing I was best at catching was throwing it. It was always throwing. It wasn't receiving, which, probably not what you're supposed to be, but I loved throwing it. Yeah. And now it was Matt Sirianni, was that his name?
I believe so.
Oh, that new catching stuff is unbelievable. Yes. When you figure that out, I'll describe it, but when you figure that out, you got to tell me. So it was wristbands. You put on, the catcher put one on his glove hand and his throwing hand. And then your infielder put one on. These were pop time training. So yes. So it's
those sensors.
Glove sensors. It measures when you catch it, gets your exchange time, and then the throw down to second base.
So from not to hijack you. So from the catcher, once the ball hits the catcher's mitt, the timer starts, and when he throws it and the ball hits the second baseman or shortstop's glove, boom, that stops. Okay.
Yes, and there's other things, like obviously there's a stopwatch, and there's other things that do that. HitTrax has a catching module that's actually really, really cool, but something that they can't measure is the actual distance you throw.
Got it.
Like if the shortstop comes up 6 feet in front of the bag to catch it, like your stopwatch ain't going to tell you that this thing does. What's it called? Caught stealing. That was, I thought, was the most incredible thing that I saw. Yeah.
It was neat.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not a catcher anymore, so it stinks I'm more of a hitter, but I would have killed to have that back in my early college days. Awesome. I thought that was so much fun. The video on it was super. You used an iPhone, much as HitTrax is moving towards, using iPhones and iPads. It's an iPhone picture. Their app interface is super smooth. get all your throws that you took in the past month, or you can wear them in games. I wouldn't say probably in games, but when you're doing inter squad practices and stuff, you can get those in-game pop times better than you would really anywhere else.
It's fantastic.
So I thought that was amazing and incredible.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What about you, Sully? What do you think?
For me, it's tough. I like to give a lot of love everywhere. And like I walk in there and we're all baseball junkies, and I walk in there, it's like, I wish I could take everything out. But then like I'm the high school coach, the JUCO coach, the dude who, well, the only way we get any of that is if someone lets give us a really nice donation. So for me, like I love anything hitting related. I love the training bats. I've been looking into a lot of the stuff in there. I feel like I see on social media. I follow on social media. I'm always getting the emails about too, but seeing it in person instead of on a screen is a little bit different. I've been really into the dovetail training bats lately, specifically like the flat bat trainers. I think those are phenomenal, especially when it comes to training bat path. And just really just squaring up and barreling the baseball. But I would say, and Ian alluded it to earlier, because him and I were chatting on our way to the restroom. He hasn't seen the pitch com system, and we just got that this fall at Tri-C. So we got in the fall so we could try it out, figure out how we could work it to best use for our guys, and come springtime when we're actually playing games that count towards our record and trying to go win a conference and all that stuff. So though that system is really cool. So I'll give them a little shout out. So basically what it does, it simplifies the whole game. And I know I'm going to turn 30 here soon, so I'm like older, but I'm older school in the sense of there's some things, like one thing being I'm not a wristband fan. I love the old school signs. But then when you start really like, all right, what's the purpose of this? The purpose of everything we're doing is trying to put our players in the best position to win, to succeed. Well, if guys are missing signs, you're going to keep getting mad as a coach, right? So PitchCom, what it does is you essentially just spell it out to the player on a wristband. Nobody on the other team sees it. They just look at a wristband. You don't have to look about sign stealing. You don't have to worry about knowing crazy sequences from coach. It's all right there, and it's that simple. It's early, so there's still some troubleshooting stuff. Like we discovered that on offense, we're not going to use them yet. We tried it in the fall. There would be too many times when the hitter, he would receive the sign from the dugout, like on his wristband, but then the position player, it wouldn't send. So the hitter thinks the position player, or sorry, not position player, the base runner. So the hitter would think the base runner is like stealing, or if we put on a hit and run, but our poor base runner wouldn't have a clue. So that's some things we're working through. And I know like with them being a newer company, I'm sure they are working through as well, but we definitely like it for a pitch calling type of thing. We like it in aligning defense. We like it from all that. But yeah.
I got something there. So I was thinking about, we're saying all these products are great. You had mentioned something yesterday about that where, we don't want to tip pitches as pitchers. We don't want to give away maybe what we're sitting on as hitters. So with that, you were saying maybe, I think we were talking about it. Maybe there needs to be like every single pitch, there needs to be maybe like a sign or something going out, because like say if, you're going to put something on and you do put on a bunt or a hit and run and a steal, and your hitter, it's a 2-0 count, and he all of a sudden gets a buzz and he steps out and he looks, at the wristband, and it's like, oh shit. Well, now the other team knows maybe something's on, right? So does there need to be a fake sign that goes out every single pitch to maybe like, not get caught tipping, right? What do you think about that?
No, that is phenomenal, and definitely one of the many things that one of the questions we like thought about when going into it too. So one way we would go about it is because you could kind of hear the buzz of the wristband. So like you said, if we're only sending signs and when we want something done, a team's just going to hear that buzz and be like, oh, something's on, here we go. So there would be times, I think we used the word just kind of like just hit. So if we sent it out, just said hit, no sign is on, but the other team wouldn't know, they would be either guessing that we put something on or whatever. And it's not like this team could just look over at a wristband and be like, oh, I see what they're saying. It's pretty private. It's pretty well kept. But one way we're trying to go about it with the offense is, so our hitting coach and myself, we're in the dugout and we man the iPad that sends the messages. Our head coach is coaching third base. So we're going to use it as a communication between coaches, where Coach Kaplak, our hitting coach, and myself, if we like an idea or just a thought, we'll send it to Coach Stahlberg at third. He'll check it in between pitches, and he'll either put a sign on for the hitters that is like, okay, yep, I like that. Or if he disagrees, he's the head guy. He has final say. He doesn't have to do anything we suggest to him. But that's one way we're trying to combat the issue with the loss of, I guess maybe that'd be connectivity when a message sends to one but not the other. But yeah.
Sick. Okay. I love that. So obviously we just hit on some products, man, that stood out to us. Next, we were surrounded. I mean, this is the biggest, baseball coaches convention in the world, right? So we're surrounded by, coaches. And the college level. There were some big time like professional coaches walking around. Man, we got to meet some, people in the professional ranks. Man, what out of all of the coaches that kind of stood out to you guys that were talking, that were kind of delivering messages, who were the ones that stood out to you? Like, who specifically stood out to you, and why? Maybe what were they talking about? What resonated with you, and maybe like how are you going to try to implement what they were talking about? And relate it to everything that you're teaching to your kids. I'm throwing a whole bunch at you, so maybe I'll start first if you don't mind. So like the first night that we were here, man, I don't even, what was that? The coaches like development.
So it was a pre-ABCA connection event.
Yes. So I was fortunate enough, to get the side invite. I didn't even get a chance to check in yet. So I was lucky to just be a part of it. Where some of the, best minds of hitting were talking, man. So they had two of the Wake Forest coaches there, Bill Salento, and I want to make sure I don't mess his name up, Moose. So yeah, Corey Mascara, and they absolutely fired me up, right? So Moose works with the pitchers. Bill, I believe I was reading, is the associate head coach, and I think he works with the hitters, man. But just everything that they were talking about blew me away. So here at the Nine Hole Podcast, obviously I'm talking to the next generation of underdogs, not, nine hole hitters. But I'm here trying to portray, to the kids or the student athletes or the players that I do talk to, preach to, play with, that it's like, dude, the level of competition and the level of like that these guys are going about their practices, how they get their ass kicked before they even take the field, right? They're going in the cage and they're failing, or they're competing a certain way. They're competing against one another, and they're kind of getting the best out of each other. Coach Moose, Coach Salent. I mean, these guys were talking about they have a scoring system where they're competing against each other. I reached out to them and I asked kind of to hear about it further, and it just they were just talking about like that gets the best out of them. So. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to be able to apply it, to my life right now, but I feel I related to that. So I feel like if I was going to go hit warehouse, I would go through my T progression. I would do some flips, but I would end getting my ass kicked on the machine. I would turn it up to an uncomfortable fastball to where like I would have to choke up. If I'm using a wood bat, I'd probably, risk breaking a bat. So there is serious risk there. There's monetary risk. And I'm taking it serious. It's do or die. I'm only bringing one bat. So I'm challenging myself. I'm training a certain way. I'm trying to train to fail, because if I'm hitting 120 off the machine and like grinding and failing, and then I turn it down to 100, maybe that 100 looks a little easier. I feel like the way that they were talking about it, the way that they were scoring it, they were keeping tabs of it. They were broadcasting it like, hey, this is your win percentage in the clubhouse, dude. So on their lockers, they're competing throughout the week in individual tasks, whether it's on the field, whether it's BP. Coach Salento was talking about, now I'm getting fired up, right? So tipping, not giving stuff away. They treat their batting practice like an offensive and defensive exercise. So we're not just going through the motions in batting practice. We are working on something. These guys are taking into account how much their infielders or outfielders are diving. And, Coach Salento literally equated that. They're saying, hey, that could probably equate to how much of a winner that guy is. That guy's going all out in BP, like he is competing. That's a whole different level of competition. But now, you're talking about Coach Moose in the bullpen with tips. He said, dude, we have a point system in the bullpen on tipping. If a pitcher is showing tendencies and tipping pitches, he gets negative points. So they are competing on everything. The competitive nature, like the way they go about it, how hard they train, how hard they practice, that's going to make the competition a little bit easier. I feel like, dude, the way that they were talking, I was getting fired up. It made me want to run through a wall, but I felt like that's probably something that I related to the most, dude. So That's me right there. The two Wake Forest coaches that spoke the first night, and Moose was obviously in town accepting the Assistant Coach of the Year award, which is absolutely insane. Congratulations! It was awesome to hear those guys talk, man, and I wish them continued success. Hopefully, we get them on the podcast in the near future as well. Take a look out for that. We're coming for you. What do you got, Mike? What do you think, man? Who stood out to you with everything?
Yeah. So clearly, the Wake Forest coaches, right? And I'm just going to kind of jump on the bandwagon because I wrote down something that Coach Bill said instantly struck out to me. He said, "We're going to build an environment where we can learn how to win." Like we're gonna force you guys to fight for everything you have, and you're gonna learn how to be a winner, right?
They celebrate the little wins.
Yes, yes, all the little things, and like, how do you not want to be around an environment like that? So, like I mean, we're like you said earlier in the podcast, like we're all here for different reasons. And for years I've done the clinics and gone and listened to all the coaches speak, and yes, they're tremendous, and there's a ton that is coming out of that. But as our company evolves, like just our company, the Hit Warehouse and the brand and everything that we're doing, like I'm finding myself less and less into the development side of it and more of training our trainers and helping them figure out like what's really good. So I kind of skipped out on a lot of the clinics this year and kind of lived in the trade show and had a bunch of good meetings and stuff. But going to that pre-ABCA event, I don't want to steal any of these guys' thunder because I literally want to hear what they have to say. But like Coach Ferb was just on top of it with every single introduction. Like that killed me. Like the way he spoke about the guys that were in that building. Like
Full name?
Coach Ferber.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Is that right? I forget his first name too. And Jason, I don't know.
He's Coach Ferber on social media.
He's Coach Ferber on social media, and that's it. And like even when I was walking through the convention, I mean, he like grabbed me because I mean we were sitting front and center though. Like we're kind of obnoxious, like we're like geeks with our notepads and everything else. Like we want to hear everything these guys have to say. So like the way he spoke about every person that he introduced was incredible, And then Corey Smith, out front hitting guy, DJ LeMahieu's hitting instructor. Like it's like sometimes you just don't even need to think. You just need to listen with those guys. Right. Yeah. And so they just kept bringing out dudes. And, like I said before with Bobby, I kind of respect him on a high level and I really like him. And he's invested time in me, as a facility and things like that. So like, I was really excited to hear what Bobby had to talk about because when we start to break down the swing and Bobby is a seeker. He is 100% a seeker. He wants to know why. And he's always online and on social media trying to define everything. And we need that. We need somebody to define what these movements are, right? And then right on through to the movement prep stuff. Like I was in 100% on that. Those environments are critical for us when we're trying to train and we're trying to learn, right? Because in my facility, I want to create that environment. I want to create competition. Like we have a hit tracks in every cage, not just for the data, but we have it in there so that we can compete. And as coaches, when the day's done and the lights are getting ready to get shut off, we grab our bats and we compete against each other, right? Because we need to know what it's like. We need to still feel that competition. So, like, we want to create environments in those same facilities where failure's at a high level, right? We have failure days. We have days where we tell them, hey, get your mind right because you're not going to have any success today. We're going to make you figure it out and you're not even going to get it even when you get there, right? And that time is starting to ramp up, especially for our high school kids. Our college kids are gone. They're back in school, but high school kids getting ready to ramp up here in the next month. So like hearing those guys in that environment and speak on the same things that we want to learn more about and how to create, like I'm in on that. The other thing is wild. Humility that I hear from these guys is wild. Like I think a few of these guys, and this might be popular or unpopular, and I know Solly and I have been kind of going back and forth on this, right? Like the Twitterverse and the hitting Twitter, it gets a little carried away sometimes, right? But like when you meet these dudes in person, and you talk to them, they're seeking. They want to know. And one of your guys that you introduced us to today, Boucher, right? Thomas Boucher, amazing. He's the pitching coordinator with the Chicago Cubs now. Like he talked about like how the nomenclature and how the wording and how there's nothing universal about it. Like these guys are talking about the same things, but fighting about the same things that they're talking about and agreeing. But because the words are different, now they're arguing and they don't like each other. And people are trying to pick sides between Coach A, Coach B, and Coach C. Yeah. And then you go and meet them and you're talking to them and they're literally saying the same thing, but they just use different words to say it. And so like, that was really, really cool to be in that environment with those guys and to listen to them talk about that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, that was so cool. Best thing that we had.
I have a couple of the environment quotes I wrote down from the Wake Forest coaches since you led off with that. And I have here, quote, create an environment in which everyone values. And then they made it very clear. What do they value? Winning. Create an environment that challenges the shit out of guys daily. They need to understand how to make adjustments. They need to earn, and I underline earn, the win and success. And then this last one, I believe this was Coach Moose who summed it up. He's like, made it this simple. Do hard shit every day. Get good at hard shit. Fail. Learn how to work through the fail and ultimately win. Pretty awesome. But well, since I have the mic, I'll just go ahead and go here. So like for me, we're not here if we don't want to learn. Right. We're not going to come to this. So like, especially if there's players listening to this, if you know your coach goes to clinics or whether it be ABCA, a local state clinic, even a local clinic at a local facility, even a mental Monday, like we do, like, just know like your coach, he's doing it not because he's trying to be the smartest person in the room for him. Like, if anything, he wants to be the smartest person in the room because he wants to make you guys better. And that's what we're all trying to do here. So like when I come down here, like, I think I stole this from Kai Correa. Like I take feverish notes sometimes on some things. And like, that's where Matt and we talked how different we are. He needs a notepad that's really small and barely writes a couple words, but he just reads those words and remembers everything. I have to write every single thing down, but that's how we learn. That's how we're different. But for me, like I've done the state clinic in Ohio, which is phenomenal. For a state clinic, they bring in phenomenal speakers. Like shout out to the Ohio High School Baseball Coaches Association with the relationships that they have with people. Like it's just top notch for a state clinic. So in my years of going to that, and now my second year here at ABCA, I'm still learning a lot. Learned a ton this year too. But I kind of want to touch on how as a coach, like, let's be real. There's times when we sit there and we wonder, like, am I really doing the right things? Like, am I like how much? And of course we have data that could help us evaluate if we're doing the right things, if guys are improving and all that, but you can't help but wonder, like, and it goes with growing. You have to challenge your philosophies. You have to. So for me, like a big takeaway this time, like I'll start off with Casey Smith from Out Front Hitting. I teach our guys at the Hit Warehouse. There are three things, and I stole this from the Indians, well, now the Guardians, but they were the Indians at the time. They put on a coaching clinic in Cleveland. I was fortunate to be with the RBI team and learn from the hitting coordinator of the Indians, their AAA manager, their AA hitting coach, everyone through and through. And there was three questions they asked hitters before they even talk about mechanics. Question number one was, did you swing at a strike? Question number two is, are you on time? And if a hitter says no to one of those, they don't even say anything mechanically, like, all right, well, you got to swing at a strike, or hey, you got to figure out what your timing is then. And then the third thing is, were you ready to see the ball, or did you wait to see the ball to get ready? And when Casey Smith was up there in front of us, which leading off saying he is by far not the smartest guy in the room, as we're all looking at each other, be like, well, why the heck are we here? Because we think you are the smartest guy. But which Mike and I joked about walking over. Quick side note, we're like, if we go in front of these people, we should just be like, you know, it's kind of weird being in this room, being the smartest guy in here, since all of you are pretty dumb. Do the opposite just to see the reaction. But Casey had three things, and his three things: number one, are you swinging at good pitches? Basically the same thing that we're doing at the Hit Warehouse. Number two, are you on time? The same exact question. Number three, what is your plan or approach? And you could argue and say that's right with that third question we asked. Like, if you have a plan or approach, you are ready, right? So that, like, getting reassured some things sometimes, and it's not that I don't have confidence in what I do, but when you have these people that you glorify, we were like little kids in there just like, this is sweet. We're like all these guys on social media that we send to each other all the time. I send it to you all the time. And it was just like, man, that's the best of the best. DJ LeMahieu's guy is doing, and I just taught that to our guy 6 weeks ago at the Hit Warehouse. Those same words. And I never even talked to Casey Smith in my life. And I don't think he's ever put that out. If he has put it out on social media, I've never seen it. And that was really awesome to hear. Another one. So I went to probably the most, Matt and I probably went to the most main clinic speakers out of everyone in this room. And a coach, Mike Curran from a JUCO in California. And of course, when I see offense, JUCO, D2, Cali, dude is in the Final Four every year with his teams. I'm a Division II JUCO coach. I coach offense. Why the hell would I not want to go to that? So I go there, and with my high school teams, when I was a head coach, a varsity head coach, and also a varsity assistant coach, I had 6 offensive goals that we would implement. And I kept data over all those goals over all the years that we ever done it. Those goals being 6 runs or more, answer back, extend a lead, 1 big inning, which means like 3 runs or more, score first, and 2 out run. And then Mike Curran is talking about, like, he didn't call them goals, he called them jobs, which I love, which I'm going to steal, like, because he referred to it as like, we don't even care about the scoreboard because these are our jobs, and I don't care if we're winning 7-0. We look at our thing and we go, hey, we still have 3 more jobs to do. It doesn't even matter, like, that 7-0. Like, we got to take care of these 3 jobs first. And his were pretty much identical. And again, I took that from Coach Monty Leader in a COVID Zoom call that he put on for free when he was the head coach at where was he the head coach at Clemson? Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I stole that when he was gracious enough to literally give everything he does as an offensive coach when he was at Clemson. And I just so happened to find a link one day on Twitter. I clicked on it. I joined the Zoom call with a bunch of coaches I didn't know, took that, and I used that in my program every day since. And Mike Curran has pretty much the same thing. So I'm like, huh. So in my head, I start thinking like, like this is something. And I've kept statistics on like what our team win-loss record was when we hit one of them, when we hit 2 of them, when we hit specific ones and all that. And what does he start doing? He starts showing the statistics of his win-loss record for each job. And then also, hey, here's our win-loss record over the last 11 years at our school when we get 0 jobs, 1 job, 2 jobs. And I'm like looking at my Google Drive while he's doing this. I go, I literally have this for JV baseball from 2 years ago, varsity baseball from 4 years ago. And I'm like, the numbers, how teams that scored first, like he had like an 88 win percentage. That was almost identical to the 5 years of data I had for my own teams at a whole different level. So like that was like a real cool moment. Again, reassuring, confirming like, hey, keep fighting the good fight, keep doing. There's something you could give yourself credit sometimes. Like it's okay to give yourself credit sometimes. And it was just one of those moments, like 2 guys in which I respect a ton, never met before, never had a conversation with at all. And it was like, we're doing that. We are doing that. And they're doing it too. And they're the best. So we're going to keep doing what the best do, but yeah, that's, I mean, I could go all day on this, but no, we gotta keep it going.
What about you, Matt?
So I guess I'll start the same way we all did. Those 2 Wake Forest guys were incredible, right? One thing that we didn't mention that I wanted to when you were talking for sure, at the end, both of them got up there. They were both trying to leave, but they were both still talking to us at the same time. How about the passion that they had when they were talking about competing?
Fired up.
It certainly sounded like those 2, like they're pitching and hitting. They've got the same goal. They've got pretty similar philosophies and making their guys compete against each other, making it hard, making it failure. Those 2 do it against themselves.
Yes.
Like they have to. Like that was super cool to watch them get passionate about competition just with each other.
Yeah, and look where they're at.
Exactly. Right? I mean, they're incredible. Exactly. You can't argue that works. And it's awesome that did you feel the same way? It was so cool to hear them kind of beef with each other a little bit during the season.
They're everyday dudes. Like they're
For sure.
different. After you get them in that setting, they start talking. Other than the fact they wear WF on their shirts, it's like they're no different than they do what we're doing right now, just together, like in their locker room, in their coach's office. Like they're just normal everyday dudes. They just, God bless them for coaching for Wake Forest. Just like God bless us. So I'll be a part of the hit warehouse, But,
Yeah. So that was awesome. And then I know Sully and I talked about Coach Everson, the Mets guy, who was the second talk. He did some stuff on, this was more for player Matt instead of Coach Matt. Talked about some hitting approach, the landline approach. Very similar to, I don't want to get into detail on that, very similar to every other approach you've probably ever been told. Hit the fastball and hit the curveballs that are up in the zone. Is that what it was? Hit the fastball you're supposed to. But I don't have my notebook. I wish I would have grabbed my notebook from that talk. He had one slide that I loved. It was, you need to have an actionable movement in your approach and a reaction movement. So when you think of when you're swinging, you think of your actionable movement. What can you set yourself to be knowing what you're doing? That was that landline fastball. Do you remember what I'm talking about? So your plan is your fastball that you're sitting on, your outer third fastball that you're sitting on, and then your reactive movement is the curveball up. And I don't know what, it's very similar. It's what everyone tells you your hitting approach is. But for some reason, the way he said it really, really hit with me, and that's something that I can't wait to use this year.
That's huge you say that. So we talked about, the verbiage that certain, like the Cubs have the way, their own lingo, their own verbiage on the way that they kind of, dissect hitting, teach hitting, break hitting down, all that stuff. Maybe a certain thing that was explained to you a certain way, like the line approach. Dude, so my approach was sit fastball. And if I saw something pop up, right, if there was a hanging curveball or a changeup that wasn't thrown for a ball low, right, and it just hung up, if I'm sitting on a fastball right down the middle and there's a changeup that pops up, and I'd be an idiot, I guess, not to swing if it's in a plus count, if I feel like I'm locked into that approach. It took a certain way explaining to me for me to be able to buy into that and fully kind of like internalize it, process it. So the different ways of having it explained from different coaches is huge. That's something that obviously we had a big takeaway from. Something else, right? So this was my first ABCA conference. Same with you, Matt, right? So this was big for me. My mind was absolutely blown walking into, the trade show, seeing all of the companies, seeing all of the tech, seeing all of the products, all that stuff, man. But more so, something that I wasn't aware of coming in here were the connections that were going to be made. Man, I printed out a whole bunch of business cards. I had a whole bunch of business cards here. I, throwing them away, making it rain, trying to hand them out to as many people as I could. In turn, I got a bunch of business cards, a couple ideas of the future. Man, so I think like the connections that you're making are going to have an impact, moving forward. Mike, was there anything really that stood out to you that you were excited to kind of connect with, or a certain program, a brand, a product, something that you're maybe looking forward to like testing out in the future? Was there anything that stood out to you?
Yeah,
Or that you want to try?
That I want to try for sure. There were some things I want to try. It's so tough because of the connections that I was able to make this weekend. They were inadvertent because when I mentioned to you the ABCA, right, and it was maybe a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, and I said, "Hey, man, you going to the ABCA?" And you're like, "What's that?" And then he didn't know, and it was like so honest, and I'm like, "Oh," I kind of gave him a brief, and within 2 seconds, I'm there, right? And then I think a week later, I'm like, "Hey, man, you still thinking about it?" Already booked, and I'm like, "All right, cool." So I knew that Ian was coming down, and I thought I honestly thought that I'd see Ian a little bit and we'd have a dinner or this or that or the other. Well, it turned into spending a lot of time with Ian. So this connection was huge, right? This was by far the greatest connection I made the entire weekend. So thanks for that, dude. I appreciate the time and all of that because of the connection made with you and the way you do things. Man, I didn't stop meeting great people all weekend, right? And you were able to introduce me to people that you knew in the game. I'm going to screw this up, but the Matsu Miners, right? Yeah.
Christopher Denise.
Yeah.
Matsu Miners.
The Alaskan Baseball League, the Summer Baseball League. I mean, when you go somewhere and you are seen, and then you watch the reaction of those other people. So like when we saw that coach and you saw him and the reaction that he had towards you, and instantly was able to speak highly of you and remember everything about you, and you guys are chatting it up about like the prospect day and getting ready for it, and then
11, 12 years ago.
Yeah, I'm like this is epically awesome, right? And so those connections are so valuable, because for me, they're valuable to you clearly because you've already had those connections, and then they instantly give me clout because Ian was able to say, "Hey, this is Mike," right, and introduce me. And I know that the baseball world is what it is, and it's always going to be what it is. I was not a pro player. I was not even a collegiate baseball player. I was a high school baseball player who quit the game probably too early, but we didn't have what we have in 1997 right now. And so it's tough for me to be like, hey, I own a training facility, and by the way, my training facility is the best one around, and we have cool logos and we have all this other stuff. And oh, really? Where'd you play? Right? Because I sat and listened to you talk last night at the Blast Motion deal, and you literally said that had your professional baseball coach not handed you Blast Motion, you likely wouldn't have taken the same away that you got from it by having it from that major league trainer, right? And so that's the clout, right? So if I'm able to walk around a convention with Ian Miller, right, and Ian Miller is able to introduce me to people, like instantly those people might think that I might be okay, right? And then maybe one day there could be an opportunity where we can speak and be on the same playing field. So like when you're walking through that place and there's 10,000 people, and that first conference lets out, and the escalators rolling, and there's just droves of people coming in at you, and then you're just grabbed up by a dude and you introduce him, and next thing you know, 20 minutes later you're talking. Amazing, absolutely amazing. So yeah, you can literally spend the entire week just connecting with people and learning from different people. And it's the 80th ABCA this year, so it was a little bit more exciting for some folk. But yeah, amazing connections made this weekend, and I'm grateful, like highly grateful to everyone that I met. So thanks to you and everybody else I got to meet this weekend.
So that fires me up. So connection wise, yeah. The Blast Motion guys were huge. So the Blast Motion, sensor for me, Blast Motion, I don't want to say saved my career, but changed the trajectory of my career. I was in the big leagues after I used Blast Motion. What it was able to do with my, getting my swing on plane, tracking different metrics. That was the first kind of taste that I had with baseball tech. So I was old school as shit, and I didn't want to try anything different. But what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same things over and over again, expecting different results. I'm going back to AA, AAA, like I'm repeating. I'm hitting 250, 260 every year with low on base, not a lot of slug, all that stuff. Like, what's going to change, right? So I kind of went back to the drawing board. Like you said, Mike, a major league hitting coach, Tim Laker at the time, and JD, Jarrett DeHart, man, they were both kind of, adamant about trying this Blast Motion, sensor. Man, I threw it on there, and man, I was in the big leagues probably, 8 months later, 7, 8 months later. It's crazy to think about, but I've never hit 11 home runs before, in a season. I'm a little speed guy, so that's crazy. Getting acclimated with Brock Hudgens, Donovan, man, from playing sports, the baseballer account, man, that was big. Getting to see how those guys, those boys do business. Those guys are grinders. Those guys are businessmen, and they know what they're talking about, right? So just being able to kind of swap info with those guys, talk about maybe something down the road. That's huge. Looking forward to kind of seeing what that, what kind of, fruit blossoms from that relationship. The connections are huge. I'm looking forward to seeing how I'm able to, kind of bring that into fruition moving forward. What about you boys, man? Any big connections that you're excited to maybe, explore later down the road? Anything that stood out?
Sure. So I was in a bit of a weird position being the young one. a little bit. So I got all my connections from guys that you would know. I attached to you guys the whole weekend. Bobby Tewksbury was awesome to talk to. Awesome to be able to shake his hand. Coach Ferber was incredible. We talked to Ian Kinsler yesterday, which I still haven't quite grasped. But what was very interesting, we talked about this on Thursday, the difference of living in scarcity and living in abundance, where I was kind of nervous coming into this, being a young guy who's not a baseball coach. I'm a player right now, really. Would people be willing to share what they have with me? Living in scarcity is not being able to share that. You think of baseball guys trying to keep their drills to themselves, their connections to themselves, what they believe in to themselves, versus living in abundance, which is what I found to be true from everyone we talked to this weekend, willing to share everything, willing to tell you everything about their business. We talked to those Blast Motion guys. They told us what was coming next for the next 6 months and how can we help it. We talked to Hit Tracks our first day here. That immediately, here's what's coming next. Here's how you can help yourself. Stuff like that was super, super cool, I thought, especially for someone in my position, being young and just trying to be a sponge and soak up everything that I can. So maybe not one person, one connection in general, but just the overarching everything that I learned and everything that was willing to be shared with me was incredible.
What about you, Jake?
Well, first, I just want to touch on with Matt, like the connection thing. That's why you're here, though. Oh, yeah. Like that's why you're here, and it feels a little weird because I didn't attend my first ABCA until last year, but at least with the Ohio State Clinic, like that's how I meet guys and become close to guys like Aaron DeBoard before I even get a chance to coach with them, and Jack Pecknick, like same way. Like we never coached together until officially now this year for the first time in the 8, 9, 10 years we've been coaching against each other. But we've always been boys, and but it's got to start somewhere. And I understand what you might be feeling like, man, like I feel like I'm offering nothing because all these guys are giving me everything, but like enjoy it because there will be a time it's time for you to give back too. And it's time for you to get the next Matt who comes up in 15, 20 years that you get to mentor. And then you get all those connections too. Absolutely. And goes back to another thing, the whole transactional versus transformational piece too. Everybody we met today, and this is how I know that I'm a part of something good. God has put me a part of a great group of men because everybody we met, whether it's your connection, whatever, everyone is genuine. Everyone is as real as they came. They're authentic. There is no fakeness. There's never a connection made being like, let's just only do business. It was always like the why behind it. It was like, oh, I know this guy. So like, I'm going to automatically hear what you're going to say and give you some trust, even though I don't even know you yet. But I wanted to blast. Something came to my mind before I wanted to talk about Mike's. Oh, blast. Going back to Casey Smith, something learning, and sometimes learning isn't even new information. It could just be a change of perspective. And I know with me, which I'm going to go into a little bit, like being a learner, I know how important data is in hitting, but I know how much more important it is if you know how to freaking use it. It does you no good if you know what certain analytics mean, but you can't get your player better from it. So like, that's something that's kind of like an internal struggle in my head a lot. I always think like, do I need to learn more and do more from the person relationship, old school type of hitting way? Or do I need to like get more? And sometimes I feel that the data could be very overwhelming. But Casey Smith, it was awesome because he just goes, I wrote down the quote right here. His take on technology, he's like, it's no doubt you guys have seen the videos. We use tech in our facility. Everybody uses it. 8-year-olds all the way through the pro guys. He's like, we don't give it to the players unless they ask. It's never like a boom, here it is. He's like, if anything, it's our cheat code. It helps expedite that learning process. So instead of something that could have taken like 100 plus swings for this hitter to finally feel or get what you're saying, all of a sudden you have something like a hit tracks, a blast sensor in this, and you might be telling a hitter, oh, you're swinging down or something, right? You're doing this. They have no idea what that means. All of a sudden you put a blast sensor on. All of a sudden you have the hit tracks on. You go, hey, you got kind of this downhill swing going on here. Look at the number, this AA attack angle. This is a negative number that confirms that. And look at your exit velo. It's like try this, and this. 2, 3, 5 swings later, all of a sudden that sensor, that immediate feedback gives you a number you want to see. And guess what? That exit velocity number you want to see? Increase. All of a sudden, there's the learning. The hitter gets it. And that's when that just made me feel like that overwhelming feeling left. Because I'm always in pressure. Like, how can we use this? How can we use this data? How can we do this? And it's like, dude, even these guys are the best. And they're just like, yeah, you keep it simple. Keep it simple. My experience is interesting. Last year was year 1. This was year 2. And I was not in a great place with my baseball situation a year ago. I was not in a great place because of that, a lot with my own mental because of it. I met Mike last year, but we didn't even talk. I met him at a party basically, and that was that. And but like I treated that ABCA like I had to been on my A game 24/7. I thought I was going to change my life-changing job could happen tomorrow, and I better be ready. I was pretty much walking on pins and needles the whole time. Like I just did not go about it. I had a terrible experience. So this year I made it a real point, not to try hard to make it better, but if anything, the opposite. Just sit back, relax. And Ian said it best earlier, let your sail loose and let the wind take you wherever it's going to take you. And yeah,
I keep getting back to that sailing, analogy, man. I just let the winds of opportunity kind of take me. I guess where it's going. Not to cut you off, dude. My bad.
Absolutely. So I wanted to give a little background on that because, without, I guess, not trying as hard is a one way to put it. But it's like I met all these people and so many more people that could potentially maybe help me where I was so last year, like, I want to get to this point. I want to be working here. I want to be a pro coach, blah, 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 this and that. Then this year, I do the opposite. Don't even worry about that stuff. And then I meet all the necessary people to learn the information, how to get there by just letting my sail go. And that was cool. And last year I was very much about, I got to attend every clinic and take all these notes, even though I knew all the videos are online anyway, and I could go back and anything I missed. So this year was really cool. I know I missed out on a couple good clinics probably from being in the trade show, but it was a trade-off, right? Everything that I have no regrets this time, where last time it didn't take long, a month after, when I'd reflect and be like, that was terrible. That was all on me and it was terrible. So not to ramble too much there, but yeah.
I love it. So I feel that I came into this weekend saying I don't know necessarily what's going to happen, but I feel like I'm probably going to be guided in some type of direction and pushed in some type of direction, opportunity wise. Something's probably going to come up, right? Keep the sail open, dude. Keep the mind open. We were chopping it up with some big time Cubs coaches. Some brilliant minds in the game, man. Things kind of started rolling for us, man. That was cool to be around. Obviously, the overall vibe was awesome. The humility, Mike, you touched on it before. Everybody was open to blessing everybody, right? Sharing their secrets, their ideas, their values with everybody. That's unbelievable. The shit wasn't, the ideas or the drills or certain mindsets weren't kept and hoarded and not spread with the masses, as you will. But it was cool to see everybody kind of working together. Everybody kind of picking up everybody. I stumbled onto Brock from playing sports early in the morning, man. I don't necessarily know what I'm doing networking, and dude, he just sat me down and just said what I should be looking out for, what I should be doing. I got business cards in my pocket. I don't know how to hand them out. What am I supposed to do? And then by the end of the day, obviously you're able to put it into action. That's badass stuff like that. It was cool to see that, right? Almost the brotherhood of coaches, right? I'm not even a coach necessarily. I just feel like it. Overall thoughts and experiences, right? So like I said, I was a little overwhelmed towards the end. It's man, I don't necessarily want to leave right now. I wish it was kind of going on a couple more days. There's a whole lot more connections to be made. I'm looking forward to it next year. So I heard it's in Washington, D.C. next year. That's going to be dope. Maybe we'll have to run it back with another, recording. I have a feeling that I will be potentially, in one of those podcast stands that everybody else was having. You saw the podcast row. Daddy will be there next year. So I will be live from there next year. I didn't know about it too late. But man, my overall thought was, aside from the fucking parking garage taking me for all I was worth, everything was incredible, man. Everything was incredible. The presentation was great. I wish I would have potentially stayed at the resort, right? Having a hotel room in the resort is that's the gold standard, right? You don't have to leave. You don't have to pay for parking, come back in, all that stuff, man. Everything was awesome. The food was top notch. Presentation was great, man. The resort was great. I heard that in the future, right after DC, they're talking about potentially having it in Vegas. That could be crazy. I don't know if that's good for business or if that's, good for the wallet. But that could be electric, man. So my overall experience, my first time, it was great. I'm looking forward to kind of running it back again next year and seeing what these connections that I've garnered and kind of made. Like I'm excited to see what they blossom into. So that's my 2 cents on it, Mike. What do you got, man? What's your overall takeaway from this?
Okay. Yeah. Overall takeaway this year was obviously big time connections, and I'm excited to go back to the facility because we came down here this year a little bit different than we've come down in the past. We came down well represented this year. At least I feel we did, right? My partner in the business is Bill Gearhart. Coach Bill is absolutely legendary in our area, in our neck of the woods. He was an incredible player. He went on to be a fantastic pitcher. He still holds Division I pitching records. Was drafted. Was an '88 Olympic invitee, drafted and signed with Houston, and obviously has been tremendous in our area in Wadsworth and what we do with our facility. So Bill and I, we came down together a few years ago. It was my first time and I didn't know what to expect. And then, obviously we came down again last year. We had the COVID year that we didn't go to, and then we didn't because that was online. And then the year that was in Chicago, we chose not to go. So this was my third one, and it was by far the best one I ever had. And so aside from Coach Bill and everything that he does and what he means to our company and how he is actually our company's connector, right? Like we're all here and we're all a part of it because Coach Bill is the one that brought this together. And for us, the Hit Warehouse and all the things that we've been doing for the last number of years, it all came from his vision of like kids weren't prepared for high school ball when they got to high school. Right. And that was like, how are we going to get these kids more prepared? Because they're going and playing all these summer ball games, and they're coming in talking about, yeah, man, we won the state title in this and the national championship in this and this and that and the other. And they can't get a bunt down, and they don't know how to do a dirt ball read. And, it still don't know how to do leads. And, we're not taking banana routes and, all the things that are important in the game, they're not able to do, but they're winning national championships. Right. So like, it was like, hey, we got to do something to change the game. So that was legendary for where we started with our company. Absolutely necessary, right? And then we have another partner in the business. He's down here this weekend. Matt is a part of us. So Matt was here. Jacob Solomon is here. He's a part of what we're doing. He's basically our hitting coordinator, right? Like we go through and we discuss what drills we're doing and why we're doing it. And we put together a plan, and we agree on our plan a lot of times. So it's easy to work together in that regard. We also came down with DeLon Carter, who's our strength and speed coordinator with Grit Fit that we have with the whole gym process as a part of that. And then you go into like we do have teams, right? And they are an important part of what we do, especially at the youth level and then going forward. And so our travel baseball coordinator, Jack Pecknick, was down here this weekend. Jack is I'm telling you what, he is the college connector, like I am baffled by how many college coaches he knows and how he's right up in there having a little discussion about it. And like, yeah, I just talked to Eastern Michigan's coach, and I just was talking to St. Vincent's coach. And then I'm over here talking to this guy, and I'm like, what the heck? And he absolutely knows every coach. He knows every single one. So like, Coach Pecknick was down here, and and like, so each of us operating, I didn't forget anybody, did I? Jimbo was down here. Yep. Jimbo was down here too. Yep. Our senior advisor. But yeah, you come down here with that kind of a crew, and you have some expectations, right? You have some expectations of what's going to happen this weekend, right? I think you're the only one I talked to that I had zero expectations about what would happen this week. And I just wanted you hopefully to be here so that something would happen, right? That with you in the business world. So like, like, as far as all you guys being down here, like, I was able to kind of like, I don't want to sound like a weirdo, you know what I'm saying? But like a proud dad watching my boys out there kick butt, right? And what was crazy is that my son was at home texting me 10 times a day. Who'd you meet this time, Dad? Dad, what kind of stuff did you see now? Like, he's in tune to it as well, right? So that was huge. So I know that, like, that dude needs to come down with us next year. Hopefully the school system has a little better break because they're already back into school. So that's why he couldn't come. But like, so yeah, my overview, my thought is that I personally came down here with a plan this weekend, and that was to see how I can advance this company, and how the rest of the world, or anybody else that's in the baseball industry that really definitely talks about player development and doesn't understand or doesn't know how to do it, that maybe I can shed a little bit of light on that, right? And maybe they want to be a part of what we're doing, and maybe they want to franchise with us, or maybe they want to partner with us on some other project, or whatever that is. Like, I came down here to make sure that Matt was able to connect with the players, and Solly was able to connect with the hitting coaches, and Coach Bill was able to connect with the people that is necessary for him to connect with, and Coach Pecknick to connect with the college guys, and then Rob to be able to connect with the merchandise folk, and and learn what products are working or not working in the industry, and how we can market that a little bit different in our facility or our online presence and store to to advance the game, and for DeLon to see exactly what the baseball side of stuff is, right? Because Coach Carter is a former NFL running back, like, and he's never been around baseball until he came around us, so like, it was awesome for him to be down here this weekend and to see what everybody was talking about. And so I think my expectations were clearly met, and fulfilled to the max. And I absolutely cannot wait until DC next year. I hope that I alluded to it earlier. We just hired a director of softball operations, and she's quickly going to become the director of operations for the entire facility, because she is freaking awesome at it, right? And so, like, we're going to put her in a position where she can thrive over the whole thing and not just softball, right? And next year she'll be down here, I can guarantee it, because she's going to be a massive connector. And the conversations that we even had about softball this weekend with Elena over at Hit Tracks, and who by the way sold me my first Hit Track system a number of years ago, and we come back into the facility, we come back into that building every single year. The first person I'm going to, and the first place I'm going, is to see Elena and Tom, like, because they have been walking through, like, my tech end of stuff forever. And I go back in every single day and see them and say hi to them, right? Because that's just the opportunity for me to show my appreciation for what they've done. So expectations met. I'm looking forward to what happens as Matt goes back and finishes his 5th year. I'm looking forward to seeing what Coach Solly can do at Tri-C. Coach Pecknick, our travel ball guy, also coaches at Norton High School. I'm excited to see what he can do for Norton High School's baseball program. And I'm fired up to see what DeLon's going to be doing with training. I'm fired up to see what Rob's going to do with merchandise, and maybe some marketing stuff that we have lined up, and potentially there's some other conversations on some things that are coming down. So, like, hopefully those things all come to fruition, and like, I come into the ABCA, the 81st ABCA next year with a whole new plan, another plan to execute. All the same dudes and same ladies coming down here, and we just rock out another season. So, like, I've never been able to verbalize this after, like, an ABCA, and, like, I think because of this opportunity to speak on a podcast, like, I think that really is going to solidify what we do here as a part of this, and gives me an opportunity to wrap it up and feel great about what we did this year. So thanks, dude.
Love that. Fires me up. What do you boys think, man? What were the biggest takeaways? What were the biggest thoughts? Biggest experiences for you guys? Like, what's the biggest takeaways you think?
You want me to take it? You want it?
Overall thoughts.
Here you go.
Well, I was very similar to you. This was obviously my first one as well. I was massively overwhelmed at first, like, massively overwhelmed. I think I talked to him before we left. He said I can't explain the ABCA to you until you go do it yourself. And he was 100% right there. My expectations going in were, meet some cool people, shake some hands, get to connect with some people, see some cool new technology, and I 100% fulfilled that. Being able to get closer to guys like you that I'd only known for a couple weeks, other people that you've been doing business with for years, just being able to put a name to the face, or the face to the name that I've been hearing for so many years, was awesome, and it was just an incredible experience for me.
Yeah, I mean, I touched on this, but while all you guys are talking, like in my head, the one word just keeps ringing, and it's blessed. It's just simply blessed. And Matt started talking about, I'm like, he's at Wittenberg. I'm not supposed to like him at all, being a Worcester guy, and he's a dude. Like, this is awesome. But everything we've already talked about, everything I've already talked about, all that, like, so many reasons to be blessed with these people. And then the icing on the cake was Coach Petterini's induction, where it was like, oh my gosh, Jim Morris is up there from Miami, Billy O'Connor from Virginia, the Wisconsin Whitewater head coach, who's a dominant Division III school. You have LSU Eunice, Coach Willis, Division II powerhouse in the JUCO world. Of course, I want to hear him. And then, like, there's the dude that I freaking played for that, like, I'm not even sitting in here if I don't play for him, is right up there with the best of the best getting inducted. And then what was even better was the community, that Worcester community, that one of my classmates, who's a really good friend, he is also a high school coach. So it's been cool because we stay connected. Being on the coaching side, Joey Gilmore, Coach Petterini's his uncle, and I got to play with and graduate with him. So, like, my class is a little bit tighter connection with Coach P. He was here. Guys we played with were here. I got to meet these Worcester legends that you see their names when you're on campus, and you hear all the stories that all of our coaches that talked about, since Coach P coached them too, and to actually shake their hand and meet them. And the fact that they're willing to fly to Dallas from all over the country, some are not even involved in baseball at all anymore, and they're willing to just pack up, fly to Dallas because they understand this dude made me a man. Like, that's, and then let's be honest, all of us to enjoy it together over a couple drinks afterward too, and Coach P and his family and all that. Like, that was like, if that doesn't happen, I was already like, this was amazing. And that was just the cherry on top. Like, that was so blessed, grateful. My heart is full. I thank you guys and thank everybody, honestly.
That's fantastic, man. That's fantastic. So that's our recap, man. That's what we got on our overall experience here, at the ABCA convention. Appreciate every one of you guys for tuning in and watching this. We will catch you guys again next week.
That was sweet.
Nice job.